Hello and welcome to the Real Estate Regroup Show. I am your host, LJ Walker, a real estate investor helping you realize your dreams of owning a home or investing in one. So guys, today I want to talk about the Offset and Cardi B situation. I've been hit with different reports. First, I was listening to Tisa Tells and she was saying that he has $1.6 million tax lien on one of his properties in Georgia. Then I read another report and it said it's two tax liens equaling up to $1.6 million. Then another report says that Cardi B is in the hole for $3 million. Cardi B then responds back and says she doesn't have any financial woes or any financial issues. And then the son says, au contraire, mon frère. Yes, you do. However, the son, people are saying that they're accurate and reputable, but to be honest with you, when I was younger, they weren't always up to par, to be transparent. So I'm not really sure who to believe and who to trust. But I'm going to stick with the very first report that I heard, which was that Offset has $1.6 million that he does have a tax lien on in Clayton County, Georgia. I'm going to do a breakdown to see how this affects Cardi B and also how this affects Offset, because as you know, they are currently going through a divorce. Okay, so let me just preface to say, I'm not a lawyer. I am just a real estate investor, and I'm just going to share with you what information that I do know. I also want to say to you guys that it has been hell trying to find a private, quiet place in New York City this week. There is construction going on. It seems like everywhere I go. So I apologize for any distractions, okay? All right, so now let's break this down. So Offset, from what I gathered, bought this home before he married Cardi B. Okay? And from what I know, her name is not on the property. But then again, sometimes these celebrities, they do things on the low. But from what I can see, that is not the case. I also know Cardi B has properties. She has multiple properties. And he also, if I'm not mistaken, the two of them together also own properties. But this particular one that has the tax lien on it, it's just under his name. And it was done, he bought it before marrying her. Okay, so let's get into tax lien, shall we? Okay, so yeah, $1.6 million is hefty. All right, now I also have the property in Clayton County, Georgia. You guys, if you want to go way back to like one of my earlier videos, you'll actually see the property that I had. One was sold, but I still have the other one. Okay, I have the other one as a lender, not necessarily as an owner. I was the owner, but I relinquished my ownership to someone else. All right, that particular person did not pay the taxes like they were supposed to, which is in the contract. They did not pay the taxes for a number of years. Okay, and then this last year they claimed that they did, but unfortunately the county does not have it recorded that way. So I, the lender, turned around and paid the taxes so to keep it out of foreclosure. That's what banks do. Now, the fact that a bank did not step in to do that, that indicates to me that Offset's property does not have a mortgage on it, or this particular property that they own doesn't have a mortgage on it. That doesn't mean to say that the others don't either. I believe the others do have mortgages, but this particular one does not. Okay? Now, the next thing that you need to know is this. Here's what transpired between me, the lender, and the now owner. So about a year went by, and they send notices to the owner first before they actually send notices to the lender. And they send a number of notices, and then the last notice is the notice that says, hey, this property is still delinquent in taxes. We're going to have this property put up for auction, and they give you the date and the time and the place where it's going to happen. And normally it's in Jonesboro. Okay. Now, Georgia tax liens pay 20% per month. All right. Now, the other thing that I want you guys to know is that is for anybody who actually buys the tax lien. When it goes up to auction, they sell it. Now, in Georgia, they bid up on the face value. So even though 1.6 million is what he owes, when it gets to auction, it could go up to $2 million. Okay. That still may be a bargain, because according to Cardi B, I'm not sure if she was referring to her house or his house. She was saying that the houses that they own are like $5 million. Okay. So if that's the case, if the person buys a tax lien for $2 million, they still did real good. And then the redemption period is for a year. So after that person buys that tax lien, right, they get 20% interest per month until Offset, or whoever the owner is, decides to pay that tax lien off. And when they pay that tax lien off, they not only have to pay back the 1.6 million, they got to pay back the interest and whatever penalties. So it's going to be more and not less if they don't get their situation, if Offset does not fix the situation. This is what's going to happen. And after the year ends, if Offset does not put up the money to keep that house out of foreclosure, then yes, the person who owns that tax lien certificate can then turn around and foreclose on his property. Foreclosures cost anywhere between $2,500 to $5,000. I've been through a foreclosure before. I told you guys about that in Alabama. I was trying to foreclose on someone else, and it actually cost me about $10,000 because I never got the correct paperwork. And I also had a bad lawyer. Okay, so either way, the person who gets the tax lien for this particular property, they made out big time. Okay, now what if, because this does happen, and I know a lot of people don't cover this, sometimes it goes up to auction and nobody bids on it. Nobody wants that particular property for whatever reason. You know, different people go to auctions for different purposes. They have different plans in mind. So just because it's up for auction, that doesn't necessarily mean someone will bid on it. Sometimes everyone may not have time to go to the auction. Well, if people don't go up to the auction, it still goes on to a particular site where a person doesn't have to bid. They just basically say, okay, I want this particular property. They go to the county assessor's office and they can get the tax lien that way. But it pretty much, just stays there until, someone pretty much lifts it off of the government's hands. That's how that works. Okay. But yes, after it goes to auction, there's another 12 months is given for redemption, which means that he has 12 months after that to actually buy it back, which means he would have to pay the taxes, the interest, and the penalties. I want to say this too, being that they're going through a divorce, I also noticed with a lot of celebrities, not saying that he's doing this, but sometimes they will purposely mess up their finances so that they don't have to give the other person any money. Celebrities are not the only ones that do this. Honestly, I know a couple of men who have done the same thing too, to get out of paying their baby mama extra money that they fear that the courts is going to make them pay. Okay, but let's get into this divorce for a second, all right? So we don't know, and I don't believe Cardi B's name is on the house. But could she be liable for the tax lien? There's a possibility that she might be, even though he bought this property before they got married. See, we don't know how they file their taxes. Do they file their taxes jointly or separately? Number two, we don't know if they ever signed a prenuptial agreement. Number three, we don't know if they signed a postnuptial agreement. And if they did, what did those agreements say? Because what those agreements say could significantly impact this particular situation. Now, Georgia law as it stands right now, from what I know, even though I'm not a lawyer, I know that for divorces, Georgia is an equitable distribution state. They don't necessarily split things 50-50, but they will divide assets fairly according to what the judge says, according to what the court says. So usually too, the other spouse doesn't have to pay any liens or debt that the other spouse occurs before marriage, especially if their name isn't on the property and they didn't make any improvements to the property. That's very important to note. You could, for example, be married to someone, the two of you move into a house, or even if you don't move into the house, but you still hold on to that property while you're married. If the other spouse made any improvements, if they put any money towards remodeling the kitchen or the bathroom or anything else like that, they have a say on that house. Okay, so that is something that I know in the state of Georgia. Other states are not necessarily like that, so you really have to look into that. All right, I know that there's one state that no matter what, especially if one spouse makes a lot less than the other one, whatever they acquired before, like in Florida, I believe, whatever you required before the marriage, and if you go into debt with whatever that business was, whatever that house or apartment building, etc., whatever that was, the other spouse is not responsible for it. But then there are other states where they are, right? That's why I got to emphasize this. It's a state by state situation. Sometimes it's a county by county situation. Okay, so yes, Cardi B might or might not still be responsible for this tax lien because they are still married. Okay, and so that's why you got to look at the timing of this whole thing, right? See, so boy, this puts in what a tangled web we weave when we practice to deceive, or when we start to deceive, or however that damn quote goes, I forgot. But anyway, yes, celebrity cases are really complex. Marriages, going through a divorce, that can really be a complex situation. That's why you need to involve lawyers, have a team of lawyers before you get married, while you get married, to lessen the blow if you get a divorce, right? Because unfortunately, for the last decades or so, marriages are not lasting forever like they used to. It's unfortunate, but yes, it happens. And while the basics of property law apply to everyone, high-profile cases can have unique twists and turns. I'll be keeping an eye out on how this plays out, because it's not just something for you guys to learn. It's also something good for me to learn. And as I mentioned before, sometimes these laws change. Okay? The laws on real estate can change. The law on taxes can change. Divorce laws can change in many unexpected ways, guys. So listen. If this information has helped you in any kind of way, please share this. Please like it. Please comment. And see you again next time. Good night.